Yeah! Don Brothers episode 1 just got subbed, and if you've been around, you already know what it is. So the episode starts exactly how you'd expect it, referencing the whole Japanese folk tale of Momotaro having a baby show up to someone in like a peach, but this time it like falls out of the sky, which is great because it immediately begs questions and forces the audience to want to know exactly what the fuck is going on here. It then cuts to the intro, which looks and sounds phenomenal. I'm genuinely, I mean, this is like near perfect. And just to get this out of the way, I'm not doing the dance. I'm done dancing. Unless we get to 100 likes on this video. Then I'll post a YouTube short or whatever. We're then introduced to Hakura, who is the youngest person to ever win this manga award that she's just won. She's gonna act as like our main character slash like the lens through which us, like the audience, sort of sees the story through, as like a lot of it is narrated by her in her head, which is like perfect because she's being thrown into all this along with us, and we're all just trying to figure out these crazy events that are happening with her. Immediately, like, we're already identifying with her, which is like a good thing. She's cool. She's attacked by a monster on her way home, but thankfully a blue blur races across the stream to her rescue. It's actually Sonoi. He's one of the brain persons who kicks this monster's head through a fucking window. And apparently the brain persons are going to be like more of a third-party rogue type element to the show, which is interesting because I really thought they were just going to be evil. He hands her a rose after saving her and rides off into the night, which is super like suave and badass. Like immediately, I already love this character. He's just tight. Hakura then walks into homeroom the next day, which, by the way, she's in high school. Let's try and remember this next time they start focusing shots on her thighs and whatnot. Please and thank you. And everyone's there to congratulate her on her big event. We're also introduced to her bully and her boyfriend, who I'm sure will switch roles at some point in the series. I just feel it. After school, she's seen at the Donbrothers cafe, where her phone bugs out and spits out sunglasses that attach to her face and allow her to see all the demons hiding in the universe. Which is honestly just one of those sentences that makes a lot of sense for this type of show, that I feel as though would be questioned elsewhere. Also, Kaito's here, but they don't really draw attention to that fact. He's just sort of there. The monsters catch on to her ability to see them, prompting them to attack her as she calls out to her hero from earlier. A Dawn Blaster then shows up with an Oni Sister gear already inside and literally just transforms her for her. Like, she didn't even want to do this, it just sort of happened. She's able to fight when she's transformed, and honestly, her suit is like amazing. Legitimately, I think this has to be my favorite suit this season. Don Momotaro's a little too skinny, and Saru Brother's like a little too like goofy looking, and the CGI character should be pretty obvious. But don't get me wrong, like, I really like all of them a lot, but I have the least issues with her. I think she's exceptionally better than everyone else. We then cut to Taro, an Amazon worker. I ain't gonna say nothing else about that. It is what it is, man. It's a job. One of his first lines in the show is this little speech about how like the world is made up of bonds and how those bonds are what make miracles happen. It's a character motivation and whatever. Every Toku protagonist needs a dumb little moral philosophy to sort of hyper fixate on. It's cool now. I'm sure I'm gonna get annoyed with it later. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of backstory episode where I completely forget that I ever hated it to begin with. The next day, Hakura's manga gets recalled and is under heat for very blatant plagiarism, and now all of her friends hate her, including her boyfriend, who also chooses to break up with her when she's at her lowest. At this point, if I were her, I would just point the Dawn Blaster straight at my fucking temple, dude. She blames the glasses and tries throwing them away, but they immediately snap back on her face and transport her to this other dimension. She meets this dude, and he tells her to go find Momotaro, which conveniently she's able to do almost immediately as he bumps into her. But instead of reading the man's fucking name tag, she chooses to believe that homeboy from earlier is actually Taro and looks for him instead. Also, I'm just now realizing that Don Momotaro's government name is literally Momotaro with an I, and I'm annoyed at myself for it taking this long to figure that out. The gun shows up and transforms for her again, and she's forced to do battle. But luckily, her blue friend from earlier shows up, who she promptly bows down to, assuming he's Momotaro, and he walks over and kicks her right in the fucking face, which is kind of baller, but also misogynistic if I say it is. I forgot to mention that there's like this side plot of like the bully from earlier, like he's got a contract with a demon or something, and so he's like the monster of the week, and Senoi kills him, but instead of like Kamen Rider rules where it just sort of like splits the person from the monster, and like everything goes back to normal, he literally just fucking kills him. He just kills him, and doesn't care, which is tough as hell. I really like this character. And also Pink shows up from out of nowhere, and we're given zero context as to why he's there, but it seems as though he's been doing this for a while, which, by the way, I love that we have a male Pink. I think that's so cool. I really thought he was just gonna be like a CGI bird. Like I thought he was gonna be like a literal like dove, like a CGI dove, and that he'd only be male in like theory or like concept. Kind of like how Raptor from Q Ranger's like a female, but like she's just a robot and like a faceless suit, so she's just sort of, she's not really a female, she's just sort of a thing, you know? Not to mention, I just love his actor. I think he's cool. Also, for any of you thinking that like they'd be using like the top-notch best CGI for him this first episode, you're wrong. The crazy thing about this though is that this might actually be the best the CGI is gonna look. Momotaro shows up shortly after and is being carried in by people on his bike, which makes me question why they're carrying him. Both like why, as in like who are these people and why are they choosing to do this, but also why is he on the bike and not like driving in on it, and that just seems inconvenient. Also, weird thing about this is that Senoi is trying to kill the monster, right? And so are the Don brothers, but Senoi also wants to kill the Don brothers for whatever reason, but instead of working with the Don brothers, he chooses to make another monster who the Don brothers also have to fight, and leaves without doing anything except making the problem he was trying to solve a lot worse. Which is like, he was cool, but now I'm starting to question a lot of like what exactly he's trying to do here, and it's getting frustrating, I'll say that much. Momotaro then turns into Zenkaiser. It's fine. What's cool though is that for the finisher, we see him walking up to the monster and like slicing him in half, like physically. It's so often that we see rangers like wave their swords like a solid 8 feet in front of the monster as they're like performing their finishing blow. The monster grows giant like normal, but he ends up in like this gridman type dimension, and Momotaro chases after him into it. Also, Black Zenkaiser shows up for a second, and all he does in this episode is just summon Juran, which makes me think that Kaito's only here just to summon Juran for the Megazord battles, which might be because Bandai and Plex took too long sketching up the Megazord designs for this year. Head theory? Anyways, the CGI for Don Zenkaio in this episode looks a lot better than most other times that they use CGI in this show. And I think it's because they make the background look not as realistic, so it just sort of blends in and becomes more believable. Also, when Don Momotaro kills the bad guy, it splits the human from the monster, but when Senoi does it, it doesn't, because I guess he's supposed to be bad and that's the reasoning. But I also like how in the end of the episode, none of the Don brothers like know each other. They just sort of disappear and like vanish and go back to their normal lives. So they don't really get to talk or anything like that, which is cool because we sort of end the first episode on like this, not this mystery, because we obviously know who all the characters are, but this sort of like idea of like where the show's going next, which is like, how are all the characters gonna meet up? How are they gonna interact with each other, you know? There's sort of this ongoing plot of like getting the team together, which should be really interesting. And also this episode sets up a lot of questions, like why is all this happening to Yellow for seemingly no reason? Where do these sunglasses come from? Why do they do the things that they do? How did the Peach fall from the sky. There's a lot of questions that beg answers, which is a good thing for a first episode to do. And I also really like how, given the way that they presented the preview for episode 2, it seems as though Yellow's going to continue to be our sort of main character throughout at least the first few episodes of the season, which I'm really excited for, because she genuinely has potential to be like my favorite on the team. I really like her character so far. Anyways, leave your thoughts and opinions on the first episode in the comments. I'm more than excited to read them. I'm gonna be thinking about the show all week, so I'm very excited to just like talk about it with everyone. Even if it's like silly shit, I'm very excited to talk about it. Also, 100 likes, I'll do the Don Brothers dance. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Also, come back to the channel on Saturday, alright? Normally I don't ask you to come back so soon, but come back on Saturday. I have a little... I'm not gonna say nothing. You'll see what it is when you see it. I think you might like it. I hope you do. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye. Oh, I haven't done that in a minute.